The air was crisp with that clean, wild scent that only high mountains carried, pine, earth, and the faint tang of oncoming dusk. I had set off early that morning, craving solitude and silence, something the concrete mess of city life hadn't offered me in months. Hiking through the Rockies was something I had planned for weeks. Just me, my pack, and a winding trail that promised nothing but freedom and reflection. At first, everything had gone smoothly. The views were breathtaking, rolling ridgelines dusted with gold by the lowering sun, the rhythmic sound of my boots against the trail, and that gentle hum of wind weaving through the trees. For a while, I forgot about everything, work stress, loneliness, the never-ending buzz of notifications. Up here, it was just me and the world. But nature has a way of reminding you who's really in charge. It happened just after I rounded a sharp bend in the trail. My boot landed on a loose patch of gravel, and in an instant, my ankle twisted beneath me. A sharp bolt of pain tore up my leg, and I went down hard, my hands scraping against the cold dirt. Shit! I hissed, trying to get back on my feet. But the moment I put weight on it, a deep, throbbing pain shot through my foot. I collapsed again, panting, sweat breaking out on my brow despite the chills setting in. I sat there for a few minutes, hoping the pain would fade. It didn't. I pulled out my phone, already knowing what I'd find. No bars. Not even a flicker of a signal. I cursed under my breath and looked around. The sun was already dipping low, the sky painted in streaks of orange and purple. Shadows were stretching across the trail like fingers, creeping slowly toward me. No sign of other hikers. No voices. No distant crunch of boots. Just the sound of wind in the branches and my own shallow breaths. Panic started to set in. I was miles from the trailhead, no signal, no help. The temperature was dropping fast, and I couldn't walk. I tried to stay calm. Told myself someone would come along. But as the minutes dragged into an hour, my confidence shrank. The shadows grew deeper. I wrapped my arms around my chest, teeth beginning to chatter. My foot throbbed with every heartbeat, swollen and stiff now. Then, just as I was preparing to drag myself off the trail to make some kind of crude shelter, I heard it, the faintest sound of hooves on earth. I froze. For a moment I thought I imagined it. But then it came again, the soft clop clop clop, rhythmic and real. And then, out of the dying light, he appeared. A figure on horseback, tall in the saddle, silhouetted against the sky. The horse, a powerful dark stallion, moved with the slow, steady confidence of something that knew this land by heart. The man atop it wore a wide-brimmed hat, pulled low over his brow, and a worn leather duster that rippled gently with the breeze. He looked like he'd stepped out of another time. As he approached, I could finally make out more, his face rugged, dusted with stubble, eyes narrowed beneath the brim of his hat. His horse came to a slow stop just a few feet away from me. "You all right there, partner?" he asked, his voice deep and calm, with a rich drawl that rolled like warm whiskey. I opened my mouth, but the words caught in my throat. I hadn't realized how desperate I'd been to see another person until now. I twisted my ankle. "Can't walk," I managed. He looked me over, his gaze lingering on my face, then my foot. "You're a long way from campgrounds. Sun's going down fast. You can't stay out here." He didn't ask permission. He simply swung down from his horse in one smooth, practiced motion. Up close, he was even more striking, broad-shouldered, tall, maybe in his late 30s. His eyes were a piercing gray, like storm clouds before rain. He offered his hand. "Come on. I'll get you somewhere warm." I hesitated. "Are you local?" "Got a ranch not far from here," he said, nodding toward the horizon. "Name's Cole." Still unsure, but without many choices, I took his hand. His grip was strong and warm, and he helped me up slowly. When I wobbled on my foot and winced, he caught me by the waist to steady me. "Easy now," he murmured, voice low. He led me to the horse and helped me mount, taking care not to jar my ankle. The saddle was high, and my body ached with the effort, but I managed to settle into place. He swung up behind me a moment later, the weight of him pressing against my back, solid and unyielding. I could feel his breath near my ear as he leaned forward to grab the reins. "Hold on," he said. And with that, we rode into the fading light, me, a city boy completely out of his element, and the stranger who had arrived like some guardian angel on horseback. For the first time that night, I didn't feel completely alone. The saddle creaked softly beneath me as I settled onto the horse, my injured foot gingerly tucked to the side. The leather was warm from the cowboy's body, and the animal shifted slightly beneath my weight, steady and calm. I tried to sit upright, awkward and tense, my heart thudding more from nerves than pain now. A moment later, he mounted up behind me in one smooth motion. I felt him, his chest firm against my back, thighs pressing to either side of mine. His boots locked into the stirrups, and then his arms came around me, reaching for the reins. One hand brushed against my hip as he took hold, the other briefly resting on my side to steady me. "Easy," he murmured near my ear, the deep rasp of his voice vibrating through me. I swallowed hard and nodded, not trusting myself to speak. My mind spun in too many directions at once. The sharp sting of my injury, the surreal fact that I was on a horse in the mountains with a stranger, and then, this heat radiating off him. He was close. Too close. And yet, I didn't want to pull away. The horse began to move, its hooves thudding softly against the dirt trail. Each step jostled us slightly, and each time, my back pressed firmer into him. I could feel his breath against the side of my neck now and then, unintentional but impossible to ignore. His arm around me was firm and steady, calloused fingers brushing lightly against the curve of my waist as he adjusted his grip. We rode in silence at first, just the rhythm of the horse and the wind whispering through the trees. Shadows danced around us, and the trail darkened with every passing minute. My heart beat fast, half from the strangeness of the situation, and half from something else. Something deeper. That pull. That magnetic charge that buzzes between two people when something unspoken hangs heavy in the air. Then, it happened. His hand, the one at my side, slid down. Slowly. Deliberately. Just a few inches. Enough to graze over the curve of my ass. And then, with a quiet, rumbling laugh, he leaned close and said it in a low, teasing voice that rolled straight through my core. "So yummy." My breath hitched. My whole body tensed. I should have been offended. Or at least confused. But instead, I felt heat rush through me, crawling up my neck, spreading across my chest. I stared straight ahead, trying to pretend I hadn't heard him. But I had. And worse, my body responded before my mind could catch up. My skin tingled where his hand had touched. My stomach fluttered, low and tight. I didn't say anything. He didn't either. He didn't move his hand again, just kept it firmly back at the reins. But the air between us had changed. It was heavier now, charged. My thoughts raced with questions. Who was this man, really? Was that a joke? Was he serious? And why the hell did it make me feel like I was burning from the inside out? I could feel every part of him behind me, his broad chest rising and falling with each breath, the steady pulse of his thighs moving with the horse. Every step, every jostle, made me more aware of his presence. And of my own reaction. We rode like that for what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes. As we descended from the trail, signs of life began to appear, wooden fencing, faint lights in the distance, the distant silhouette of a barn. We passed through a gate that he leaned forward to open with ease, his body pressing against mine once more. My breath caught again, but I still didn't speak. The horse slowed as we approached a sprawling log cabin tucked into the trees, warmly lit from within. A small porch light glowed like a welcome beacon, casting a golden hue onto the wooden beams of the front door. A wind chime tinkled softly in the breeze, the only sound besides the clop of hooves and the rushing thud of my heartbeat. The horse came to a gentle stop near the porch. The cowboy dismounted first, his boots landing with a solid crunch on the gravel path. He turned to look up at me, his eyes catching the light just enough for me to see the glint of something unreadable, amusement, maybe. Or something hungrier. "Let me help you down," he said, reaching up. I nodded dumbly and let him lift me. His hands found my waist again, strong and sure, and for a moment I was suspended in his grip before he lowered me gently to the ground. My injured foot brushed down and I winced, stumbling forward. He caught me before I could fall, pulling me straight into his chest. "Got you," he whispered, holding me there for just a second too long. I didn't pull away, our eyes met briefly, too close, too intense. Then he stepped back and slid an arm around my back, helping me up the porch steps. I clung to his shoulder, still dazed. My body was buzzing, hot and confused. As he opened the door and led me inside, the warmth of the cabin hit me like a wave. The scent of wood smoke, old leather, and something faintly sweet, maybe honey or whiskey, wrapped around me. The soft glow of lamps lit the rustic interior, stone fireplace, worn armchair, thick wool blankets, and a kitchen tucked into the corner with cast iron pans hanging above the stove. He led me to a couch near the fire and gently lowered me down, his hand lingering at my lower back. "You sit tight," he said. "I'll take care of that foot." And as he disappeared into the next room, I sat there trying to catch my breath, not just from the pain in my ankle, but from something else. Something stirring. Something dangerous. Before I could try to stand again, he came back through the doorway, shaking his head. "Don't even think about it," he muttered with a small smirk, bending toward me. "You're not walking on that foot. Not tonight." I opened my mouth to argue, to say I was fine, but the truth was, I wasn't. My ankle throbbed with every heartbeat, swollen and angry under the wrap of my sock. And, if I was honest with myself, there was something comforting, no, something deeply grounding, about the way he looked at me. Steady. Capable. Certain. He leaned down and slid one arm under my knees, the other around my back, and in one effortless motion, he lifted me off the couch. I was in his arms before I could protest, chest pressed to his, legs dangling over his forearm. The warmth of him bled through his shirt, through mine, and I couldn't help but notice the way his muscles flexed beneath my weight as he carried me deeper into the house. "You don't have to," I started, but he cut me off with a glance and a little shake of his head. "Just let me take care of you. Ain't often I get company out here, especially not someone who drops in from the sky." I smiled despite myself. He carried me through a short hallway and into a cozy room with a bed pushed up against one wall, covered in thick, layered quilts. The walls were rough-hewn wood, the kind that made you feel like you were wrapped in a cabin instead of just staying in one. He set me down gently on the edge of the bed, and I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. That he disappeared for a moment and returned with a metal bowl of warm water, a towel, a small medical kit, and a Ziploc bag full of ice. Kneeling before me, he slid my boot off with practiced care, then peeled back the damp sock. I winced, and his hand brushed lightly over my ankle as he examined it. "Not broken," he muttered, almost to himself. "But damn near close. You're lucky I found you when I did." "I guess I am," I said quietly. His fingers worked with surprising gentleness, cleaning the scrapes on my skin, patting the area dry, then pressing the ice pack around the swelling. I watched him work, caught off guard by the care in every motion. His hands, rough and calloused, moved like they'd done this before, tenderness wrapped in strength. He wrapped my foot snugly in a bandage and looked up at me, his gray eyes softer now. "You'll be okay by morning," he said. "Maybe not hiking yet, but walking at least." "Thanks, really," I said. "For all of this." He shrugged. "Would have been a sin to leave you out there. Plus, you looked too pretty to let the coyotes have you." I laughed, but my heart skipped a beat. There was that flirtation again, casual but deliberate, like he was testing the waters. He stood and stretched, his shirt riding up slightly to reveal a toned stomach and the hint of a V-line. I looked away too quickly, heat rushing to my cheeks. "You can't sleep in those wet clothes," he said, heading toward a nearby dresser. He pulled out a large, faded t-shirt and tossed it to me. "Here. It's clean. Should be soft enough for sleep." I caught it and held it against my chest. The scent of him clung to the fabric, something warm and masculine, like leather, cedar, and smoke. I couldn't stop myself from inhaling it just a little. "Thanks," I said again. "I'll be in the kitchen." "Take your time," he said, backing out with a nod. I changed slowly, sliding out of my damp, dirted clothes and into his shirt. It hung loose on me, falling past my thighs, the collar wide enough to slip slightly off one shoulder. Despite the pain in my foot, I felt safe. Wrapped in something more than cotton. Like I was part of the place now, just for a moment. When I emerged, hobbling slightly, he was waiting by the stove, pouring hot water into 2 mugs. He looked up when he saw me, his eyes lingering for a second longer than necessary before turning back to his task. "Chamomile," he said, handing me a mug. "Figured you could use something to help you sleep." I took the mug and wrapped my fingers around it, letting the steam warm my face. We sat on the couch together, our knees brushing lightly as we sipped in silence for a few minutes. The fire crackled beside us, throwing flickers of light across his face, highlighting the curve of his cheekbone, the stubble on his jaw, the quiet calm in his expression. "Do you live here alone?" I asked eventually. He nodded. "Been a few years. Me, the horses, and a dog that ran off last spring." "That sounds peaceful. Lonely, too." He looked at me then, really looked, and for a moment, neither of us said anything. "Yeah," he said softly. "Gets lonely sometimes." The word sat between us like an unspoken truth we both shared. I nodded, sipping my tea again, but my thoughts weren't on the drink. They were on the way his hand brushed mine when he set his mug down, and how neither of us moved away. "I didn't know I needed this," I said quietly, not looking at him. "All of this. The quiet. The kindness." His fingers gently found mine, lacing them together. "Guess the mountain knew what you needed." I turned to face him. Our eyes locked, and the warmth of the fire faded into the background. For a moment, it was just us. Breathing the same breath. Feeling the same pull. "I don't want to sleep out there alone," I whispered. "You won't," he replied. "You can have the bed." "And you?" "I'll take the couch." But I didn't let go of his hand. "Stay." His expression shifted, something soft, something hopeful. And he nodded, pulling me gently up with him. We walked slowly, his arm around my waist, mine wrapped around his. And when he laid me down beneath the thick quilts, he didn't say anything else. He just stayed close, like he'd been waiting for someone to ask him to stay for a very long time. I woke to the sound of birdsong and the faint scent of coffee in the air. Sunlight filtered through the wooden blinds in soft slants, warming the quilt that covered me. For a moment, I forgot where I was. The room was so quiet, so calm, that it felt like a dream. Then I turned my head and saw him. He was sitting in the chair beside the bed, elbows resting on his knees, a steaming mug cradled in his hands. His eyes were already on me, and when he saw I was awake, a gentle smile curved across his lips. "Morning," he said, voice still rough from sleep. "Morning," I echoed, my own voice low and scratchy. He set the mug down and leaned forward a little, his gaze dropping briefly to my bandaged ankle before returning to my face. "How's the foot?" I shifted under the quilt and tested it. "Still sore, but better than last night." "It hurts, but not like before." He nodded, relief flickering in his eyes. "That's good." For a while, we just sat there in the quiet, our breaths mingling in the space between us. The air was soft around us, golden with morning light, thick with something neither of us dared name yet. Then he spoke again, softer this time. You looked beautiful while you were sleeping. I blinked, heat rising to my cheeks. Even with a swollen foot and messy hair. He chuckled. Especially then. I didn't look away. I couldn't. The way he said it, it wasn't a line. It wasn't a joke. It was real, simple, like he meant every word. He reached out, brushing his fingers along the side of my face, tucking a piece of hair behind my ear. My breath caught. His hand lingered against my cheek, warm and rough, and I leaned into it without meaning to. That's when he leaned in. Slowly. Gently. I could have pulled away. Could have laughed it off or pretended it wasn't happening. But I didn't want to. Not this time. Not with him. Our lips met softly, like a question. I closed my eyes and answered. The kiss was slow, unhurried. It wasn't hungry or desperate. It was reverent, like he was memorizing the feel of my mouth against his. My hand found the front of his shirt and curled there, holding him close. He tasted faintly of coffee and sleep, warmth and something sweeter I couldn't place. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. You sure? He whispered, breath ghosting over my lips. I nodded. Yeah. I'm sure. The next kiss was deeper. More certain. Our mouths moved in sync, finding a rhythm that felt ancient and new all at once. His hand slid down to my waist, careful of the quilt, careful of me. My fingers slipped beneath the collar of his shirt, feeling the steady thrum of his heartbeat beneath my palm. He lifted the blanket slowly, easing it back to reveal the oversized t-shirt I wore. His shirt. It suddenly felt too heavy, too much. I sat up carefully, my foot still aching but not enough to stop me, and pulled the shirt over my head. He sucked in a breath. His eyes scanned me, not like a man appraising a body, but like someone looking at a sunrise they never thought they'd see. Reverent. Grateful. God, he stopped, jaw tightening like he didn't know the right word. I reached for him instead of asking. Pulled at the hem of his shirt. He let me take it off. His chest was broad and sculpted with hard-earned strength, dusted with hair and warm under my hands. I ran my palms up the lines of his ribs, over his shoulders, memorizing him. He leaned in again, kissing me deeper, hands gentle but purposeful. When he laid me back, he did it slowly, like he was afraid I'd break. His lips moved from my mouth to my jaw, then my neck, each kiss deliberate and soft. Tell me if anything hurts, he murmured. It doesn't, I whispered. It doesn't. Not now. He moved over me, skin against skin, the heat of him melting something I didn't realize had been frozen inside me. Every movement was slow, thoughtful. Not because he was cautious, but because he was present. He wasn't just touching my body, he was holding me, honoring me, like this moment mattered as much to him as it did to me. I gasped softly as his hand slid down, fingertips grazing the inside of my thigh, then higher. I parted my legs for him instinctively, the vulnerability suddenly not frightening, not even shy, just real. His mouth followed, lips and tongue tracing over my chest, over every inch of skin he could reach. My fingers tangled in his hair, holding him to me, my breath growing shallow. He whispered things as he moved, soft nothings, quiet compliments. So damn perfect, been thinking about this since I saw you, let me take care of you. And I let him. Because for the first time in a long time, someone wanted me, not out of lust or convenience, but out of genuine need. I felt it in the way he kissed me, in the way he held my hand even as he entered me, our fingers locked, our eyes searching. We moved together slowly, like we had all the time in the world. His hips rolled against mine, finding a rhythm that stole the breath from my lungs. The pleasure was deep, yes, but the emotion, it eclipsed everything. I felt tears sting my eyes and I didn't even know why. Maybe it was the softness. Maybe it was the weight of being seen, finally, fully. He noticed. He leaned down, kissed the corner of my eye, whispered, "I've got you." And he did. He held me through it all, through the rising wave, through the shudders and gasps, through the whispered name I didn't even realize I said out loud. His own release followed shortly after, a groan against my neck, his body trembling above mine. And when it was over, he didn't pull away. He stayed. His arms wrapped around me, his chest against my back as we lay tangled in the warmth of the bed, the room still glowing with morning light. I felt his heartbeat against my spine, steady and slow. His fingers drew soft circles on my skin. Neither of us spoke for a long while. I wasn't sure how to put it into words anyway. What it meant to be held like that. What it meant to be touched, not just with desire, but with care. With presence. Eventually, he kissed the top of my shoulder and murmured, "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, more than okay." A small chuckle rumbled in his chest. "You're something else, you know that." I turned in his arms to face him. "So are you." We kissed again, slower this time, with the kind of softness that follows a storm. And as we drifted back into the blankets, his arm around my waist and my head on his chest, I knew, this wasn't just a moment. This was the beginning of something real. The sun had only just begun to rise when I woke again, this time to the soft creak of the porch door and the faint scent of eggs and coffee drifting in from the kitchen. The room was still dim, touched by the early gold of morning light filtering through the blinds. I stretched slowly under the quilts, my body sore in the best kind of way, the ache in my ankle dull but manageable. A different kind of warmth lingered in me now, one that had nothing to do with blankets or firelight. I found one of his flannels draped over the foot of the bed and pulled it on. It hung comfortably off my frame, smelling faintly of cedar and sweat and wood smoke. I padded through the quiet house, following the sounds of clinking dishes and the rhythmic scrape of a spatula. He was in the kitchen, standing over the stove in nothing but a pair of sweatpants, his bare back turned toward me. The muscles in his shoulders shifted as he flipped something in the skillet, humming quietly under his breath. When he turned around and saw me in his shirt, he grinned. "Well, look who's walkin'," he said, nodding toward my foot. "I was gonna bring breakfast to bed. I figured I'd hobble out before you started spoon-feeding me," I said, returning his smile that he chuckled and set a plate down on the table, eggs, toast, and sliced apples arranged with surprising care. I sat down, touched by the small kindness. He poured me a mug of coffee and handed it over like it was the most natural thing in the world. We ate in comfortable silence at first, the quiet of the ranch seeping into our bones. Outside the window, the sky was unfolding in soft waves of pink and orange, the mountains in the distance outlined like a painting come to life. After we finished eating, he opened the front door and gestured toward the porch. "Come on. Let's catch the rest of the sunrise." I followed him out, easing myself into the old wooden rocker as he dropped into the chair beside me. The world was waking up slowly around us, birds chirping, the occasional rustle of wind through the grass, the faint smell of dew settling over the land. He leaned back, his mug cradled in one hand, legs stretched out in front of him. "You know," he said, breaking the silence, "I go for a ride most mornings before breakfast. Didn't today. Figured I might have found myself a stray hiker worth keepin'. I laughed, feeling my face flush. "Is that what I am? A stray?" He turned his head to look at me, eyes full of that quiet, teasing affection. "Maybe. But a damn cute one." I didn't say anything at first. I just looked out at the land stretched before us, the hills, the sky, the faint outlines of his horses in the pasture. It was a view that begged you to breathe a little deeper. And I did. Then, softly, I said, "I feel something for you." He didn't react right away, just sipped his coffee. Then he set it down slowly and leaned forward, resting his forearms on his knees. "I hoped you did," he said. "'Cause I've been feelin' somethin' too." The air shifted between us, lighter somehow, fuller. I turned to him and smiled, unsure of what to say next, but not needing to fill the silence. He did that for me. It's been a long time since I let anyone in, he said, voice quieter now. Since I've even wanted to. This place, this life, it's peaceful, but it gets lonely. You forget how much it means, just having someone sit next to you and drink their coffee. I nodded, understanding more than I wanted to admit. I've been on my own a while too. Moving, working, always chasing something but never really knowing what. Think you found it? He asked gently. I looked at him, really looked at him. The quiet strength in his jaw, the warmth in his storm-gray eyes, the small vulnerability behind the way he asked. Yeah, I said. I think I might have. He reached over and took my hand in his. It wasn't a dramatic gesture, just fingers laced with mine, his thumb brushing along my knuckles. But it meant something. It meant a beginning. We sat like that for a while, hand in hand, the sun rising higher, the sky brightening by the minute. Stay a few more days, he said eventually. There's no rush. You need rest. I've got the room. And maybe, he paused, giving me a small, sheepish smile. Maybe I just want to see you in my flannel a little longer. I laughed, leaning my head on his shoulder. You might regret saying that. I'm a terrible ranch hand. Lucky for you, he murmured, kissing the top of my head, I'm not Hiram. Just hopin'. There was something so easy about being with him. Like we were two puzzle pieces that hadn't known they'd been missing until they clicked into place. We weren't the same, we came from different worlds, carried different wounds, but somehow, we fit. As we sat on that porch, wrapped in sunlight and silence, I realized this wasn't just a lucky rescue. It wasn't just one of those chance encounters you forget about weeks later. This was something else entirely. This was what I'd been looking for all along. And now that I'd found it, I didn't want to let go. My ankle had started to heal. The swelling had gone down, and I could put weight on it again without wincing. But strangely, the more mobile I became, the less I wanted to leave. He never pressured me. He never asked what my plans were or when I'd be heading back. He just made space for me, at his table, on his land, in his life. And slowly, day by day, that space started to feel like mine too. We'd take short walks in the early evenings, me leaning gently on his arm as we wandered through the fields behind his cabin. The tall grass brushed our legs, the sky always impossibly wide above us. Sometimes we talked, about nothing, about everything. Other times we were just quiet, our fingers laced together, letting the stillness say all there was to say. He taught me how to ride properly. Not just how to sit straight or guide a horse with my legs, but how to trust. How to breathe and move as one with the animal beneath me. I had never felt so grounded and so free at the same time. He'd ride just behind or beside me, always close, always steady. In return, I helped him in the kitchen. He was decent at throwing things in a pan and making them edible, but I showed him how to slow down, how to layer flavor, how to make even breakfast feel like a ritual. He watched me with a quiet intensity I'd once found intimidating, but now I welcomed it. He wasn't just looking at what I did, he was watching who I was. At night, we curled into each other under heavy quilts. The fire would crackle softly in the hearth, but it was his arms that kept me warm. Sometimes we made love, unhurried, tender, like we had all the time in the world. But more often, we just held each other. Legs tangled. Breaths aligned. The kind of intimacy that doesn't need to prove anything. One morning, I woke to find him already up and dressed, pouring coffee by the window, staring out at the fog rolling over the pasture. He turned when he heard me stir and gave me that smile, soft and sure and just a little shy, like he still couldn't quite believe I was real. He brought over a mug and sat on the edge of the bed. "You've got that look again," he said. "What look?" I asked, sipping. "The one that says your foot's better but you still haven't packed." I raised a brow at him, teasing. "Should I?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached over and brushed a strand of hair behind my ear, letting his fingers linger along my jaw. "I was thinking," he said slowly, "maybe you don't have to go." "Not yet. Not unless you want to." I tilted my head, heart suddenly louder in my chest. "You asking me to stay?" I said, trying to sound playful, but my voice caught on the edge of something bigger. He nodded, looking directly into me. "I guess what I'm saying is, this doesn't feel temporary anymore. Not to me. And if you felt the same, maybe we stop pretending it's just a visit. Maybe you stay. As long as you want. Hell, maybe longer than that." I stared at him for a moment, coffee forgotten in my hand. All the walls I'd built to keep people out, all the stories I'd told myself about being better off alone, they didn't stand a chance against the simplicity of his offer. A smile curved my lips. I leaned in, set my mug down, and kissed him, slow, deep, grateful. "I came looking for peace," I whispered against his lips. "I found a cowboy." He laughed, the sound low and beautiful. "That right?" I nodded. "And I think I want to see what happens next." That afternoon, we saddled the horses and rode out into the hills. The sun was high, the wind gentle, the world open before us. We didn't talk much, we didn't need to. Every shared glance, every quiet smile said it all. I rode beside him, not behind. Not lost. Not rescued. Just, here. Exactly where I was meant to be. Not strangers anymore. Partners.